Explain to me, like I was a 2-year-old, how did that shilling dip from 161 to 141 and then up and down that day? How did that happen?
There are a few scenarios that have been explained by the government about this dip. And then one they're saying is that because people anticipated around June, when we are paying the Eurobond, there will be demand for dollars from the government. So people were holding this currency to wait when the government demands them, that they're able to sell at a certain price that time. But since the buyout now, they say nobody will be expecting to buy the dollars, and the government has started the issue of the Eurobond. So can we go and dispose our dollars before things get worse? So maybe that one triggered the price fall deep in terms of the USD versus the Kenya shilling. So that was maybe the first scenario. The other scenario could be, these were dollars that were held by individual, or even corporate, or even investment banks, or the commercial banks, or investors themselves. So maybe what could have triggered is because since the demand, or since the appreciation of the new Eurobond, and people subscribed to that particular cash deal, now people had confidence with the Kenyan shillings. So then we say there's no value holding USD for long, because we might not expect any future appreciation of the foreign currency. So now we can only dispose. And then what happens is that immediately we have a single trigger by cents on the foreign exchange rates, then definitely everybody panics and they go and they go to transact.
So there was no malice.
So we would say there was no malice, even though now you don't know what perhaps happened on the back door. But maybe one person to trigger, or one or few institutions to trigger the exchange rate by few cents. Of course, will mean everybody will go. If you're running around dollars for 2 million, why should you hold? If you just change by 50 cents, of course you're going to make losses. So definitely you run and create the panic, and everybody wants to exchange their rates.
What does that do to the economy? Does that stabilize the shilling? Is that are we in stable mode now?
Basically, we will not say we're in stable mode because of the speed at which it has happened. Of course, it has taken time for the currency to go to that particular point, or that particular exchange rate. Then when you compare the speed at which it has dropped, we cannot say we're going to have an equilibrium by this particular short duration, because equilibrium takes time for us to be saying, now this is the real exchange rate, this is the real economic stable exchange rate. So basically, we may not assume that this is the rate that we're going to survive with. Maybe it can go back again, or it can still drop further. So we not say because of the short duration that has happened that the stable exchange rate. Yes, definitely. So then, of course, it has advantages to the economy. So people will the economy will still keep pushing it down as long as it has given that particular indicator, because in terms of prices of goods and commodities, given that we import a lot, and when we import we pay in terms of dollars, so we are paying less dollars in terms of value. So basically that means that the things that we have on board gets cheaper. Then also fuel should get cheaper, because if you're paying in dollars and the dollars rate has come down, definitely it comes down with in terms of how much we pay and the landing cost and everything. So basically that one means going to have a positive impact, and the impact going to keep pulling it down to ensure to see whether it comes down further. But basically, due to the shortest duration, we cannot say that this is a stable rate that we have assumed.
Yes. You noticed the other day Kenya has been grey listed for dirty cash flow.
Yes.
This is something we've been talking about for a long time. Wash.
Yes.
It's the land of wash.
So basically, they call it wash. Nobody knows what is wash. Anyway.
Dirty cash.
Yes. So, and basically, we not say it's literally dirty cash. So we call it's an unexplainable transaction.
Unexplainable.
It's basically what happens is that if you transact, I think it's still at 10,000 USD. Definitely, you have to give documents on why you're doing this particular transaction.
But you can transact 9,999.
Yes, of course you can. But that we call split transaction, which are also monitored. So you cannot split as many times as you want to avoid the $1 that keeps
Correct.
you to
Red flag.
So of course the split transaction raise eyebrows more than the 10,000 USD threshold. So basically it means there is a lot of pressure for people who don't want to have their funds accounted for, or they don't want to substantiate or support, give documents that relate to the amount of money that are transacting, or maybe the document that in aggregate that are submitted could be not legit. So basically that pressure is what creates that particular animosity with the task force that deals with the money laundering, terrorism, financing, and such. But what I'll say, we have a law, we call it POCAMLA, for such related issues, and it has been reviewed. I think there was a review late last year when the president came in on the same, but I think it needs a few enhancements. But the grey listing is not anything good to speak about but when we speak from the individual point of view, we might not see the impact. But from global transactions, of course, there's an impact, but we expect that the reviews will come in and we go back to our original status.
But does that raise red flags for people who want to invest in Kenya? They say, hey man, these guys have been listed, they've been grey listed.
Of course, yes, because there are those countries that are very strict on we as citizens of that particular country, we want to transact or do business with people in that other specific country that is listed grey. Of course, so we not give you allowance to open account, we not allow you to transfer funds from this country to the other country that is grey listed. So of course it affects investors and even us as Kenyans sending money to countries that are very strict with that particular grey listing. Of course it affects those particular investments and even local commercial banks and institutions that want to transact nationally or globally. There is something we call the letter of credit, that when you want to buy maybe something from another country, so this particular commercial bank pays the commercial bank on the other end on your behalf, right, that you're able to get your deliverables or your shipment. So if such grey listing and want to ship items from a country that are very strict on to transact with nations that are grey list, of course we expect some setbacks on the same. Of course we expect some restrictions, and will also bring the high cost of business because of course it comes, we have to substantiate why you are doing that particular business maybe. Yes.
The other day governors made a statement that unless they get the 450 million that they demanded, they will literally bring this government down. Is devolution dying?
Devolution isn't dying because there's a law about devolution. The only aspect is the transfer of funds, how they should be given out within the stipulated time frame. Because sometimes the year starts in June and ends in June, but you get your funds 1 week before the June, that is the end of the financial year. Yeah. So of course the system's open, we call it the if miss, and you have to make payment, but you have 1 week to do, because after the 1 week, of course, the financial year changes dates, and whatever is there becomes maybe perhaps a pending bill. So basically the devolution is there, the framework is there. We've really invested a lot as a government in terms of ensuring we have a working framework. We have a governor sitting in an office that on its own is not a joke. We have CECs, we have chief officers, we have directors. So all that framework cannot be let down because we are not able to disperse funds within the specified time frame. But there is need for a lot of push from the Council of Governors to the national government to ensure that even if the money is not released at once, they can have agreed trenches when this money can be distributed across the financial year. Yes.
But also, as you speak about it, a lot of people are complaining that in the counties and in Kenya generally, there's a lot of recurrent expenditure which is way higher than what will have been used for development. Are we working against ourselves in that regard?
Of course, you understand, as a country, the first cry of the people is employment. And when this county government came in, everybody wanted to employ anyone who needed a job that particular time. So we ended up ballooning our recurrent cost, maybe unconsciously. So when we are realizing that we already ballooned our recurrent cost, we already there, and we have given these people permanent jobs. Of course, the county government give permanent pensionable job. So that one has over time ballooned the recurrent expenditure. So the only way out is to have a seamless process where perhaps maybe when you have natural attrition, so like retirement, we any other way that the staff exit the county government, we don't re-employ until we're able to bring down the recurrence. Because as we speak, it is still a thorn in the county government. They're paying too much on recurrent costs, and we're not seeing any meaningful development from the county for what we expect. But if the money staff of disbursement of funds is sorted out and they're able to get money on time. Maybe we can see if they can perform, because they claim mostly they pay recurrent debts, or rather recurrent cost, and by the time the money comes in, they have already gone into other debt because of suppliers, blah blah. The people have gone to court. You give me 90 days, you've not paying me, all those litigations. So it comes with a lot of cost. So maybe if they're able to get their money on time, then we can evaluate whether they're effective to that extent.
But then there's also that fear that corruption has been devolved.
We cannot only say corruption with the county government. It's a national issue. So we will not associate lack of development from the county government with corruption, because it is everywhere. It's a universal issue, maybe, that can only be addressed by each and every individual and every leader in this particular country. So we cannot leave it to president, we cannot leave it to county government, we cannot leave it to churches. It's a menace in the economy. So, of course, corruption is there, as I say, from the county governments, and even the employment that we talk about, high recurrent expenditures. People employ their family members, people employ their friends. County government has come. Can we go and get jobs from the county government without meaningful expected delivery from these people that we wanted to employ? So, such nature of corruption. So sometimes corruption is not about getting a deal, financial deal, that I've done a supply here of 5 million, now pay me 7 million, we divide the 2 million. Even this employment that is not supported by any deliverables, there's still some nature of corruption, and that is basically what is ailing our county governments.